In this video, I'm going to show you how to work with the Grasshopper script for the pattern, but specifically how you can determine the areas of the shapes within the script. So I'm working with the random pattern of circles here. I've got a hexagonal grid. And in this case, there's a random component to it. I've made some adjustments because the scale of the original script was in feet, and this is a much smaller element. So the size here has been adjusted. So it's not integer numbers, but it is these floating point numbers. And I've kind of limited the maximum values down here. Again, because I'm working with something much smaller, I also adjusted the radius similarly. So it's also these floating point numbers. So I can go down to some small circles. Okay, so I've only got here shown one column, and I'm adjusting that there because I want to keep these numbers small so I can kind of see how it's working to figure out the area. Okay. So I'm going over to the scale component. So this is, yours is going to be a little different, but you want to follow the same sort of concept here. And I'm double clicking and I'm going to type in area and I'm going to connect this. Okay, so basically this is determining the areas, it's calculating them, but I can't see them because I don't have a panel. So I'm going to open up a panel here and connect it in. So there I have two circles, and you can see that it has calculated the areas for those. Now let's see what happens if I come over here and I add, oops, that's not what I want to do. Bring that back down. I'm going to add another column. So there should be now 4. I'm going to stretch this panel down. So one thing that it's doing is it's kind of grouping these into sets of columns. And in order for me to get the total area, so right now all I'm seeing is the individual areas of those shapes. To get the total, what I'm going to need to do is add them. But let's see here. We're going to go to this tool under maths. It's called mass addition, and put it here. And then I'm going to come back to these areas and I'm going to connect it. Okay, so here I have, now this box is supposed to calculate the total areas. And I'll create another panel so I can see what the results are. And I'm going to expand this a little bit. So because it has grouped them into these sets, and then, again, those are the columns. So just to sort of manipulate this a little bit, let's go back here. And let's say if I add another, I'm going to make 3, there's 2, 3, and I come over here, I should see now 3 sets, or actually 3, because I have 2 columns with 3 items. You can see it's added them, and it's also adding these. But I want to know the total area for all of the circles that are here. So there's one additional thing that I need to add in here, and it's called flatten tree, which is basically going to allow me to treat these instead of as sets as individual items. So what I need to do is I'm holding down Control and I'm going to detach that input. I'm going to reattach it here to the flatten tree tool, and then I'm going to bring it up to the inputs. So as you can see, I now have just one value here for the area. All right, now the goal for this is to have basically 50% of the area here given to the pattern. So I obviously, I need to increase it because I know that if this is 4 inches and this is 6 inches, that is an area of 4 times 6 is 24. So I have 24 square inches to work with, and right now the circles are only accounting for 2.44 square inches. So what does this mean? This means I need to play with these values so that I'm closer to 12. It doesn't need to be exact. And again, you want to make it so they don't touch. So I'm going to need to make a number of adjustments to get this to kind of work out. All right, so now we're at 8.9. And I can continue to kind of play with the values. Maybe I need to adjust the domain so that they're all a little bit bigger. I still have that random spacing, but so now I'm above, so I can bring them down a little bit. Basically, this is the idea. We're looking for a value close to 12 here for the total area of the shapes. Now, once I have the design worked out, I'm going to turn off the preview of those centroids, the centers of the circles, and oops, now I'll be ready to bake bake the pattern into the rectangle. So I'm just going to move this over a little bit, kind of get it centered as best I can. All right, so right click on scale and hit bake, and there's no going back. So you got to make sure that this is the pattern that you want, and it will embed those shapes into the Rhino file. And that's it.